There we go. Let's see what we got here. Just why? Why is this game? I mean, it could be cool, but it just feels like a game that's like 5 years too late. It's just born of sin. New content, new types of Xenos, but there needs to be a new gameplay. That's the problem. It's the same gameplay loop. It's not going to be new, or it's just not going to get people caring. It looks like the same gameplay loop, exactly the same. So cool. That's no one's playing that. Here, let's do a little React Andy while we're here. Let's see what this guy has. 23 minutes worth of aliens talk, which I would love to. And I'll tell you my thoughts about the game compared to his thoughts about the game.
Welcome back to the 20-Minute Gamer channel, everybody. We are taking a moment today to do a little bit of a deep dive into Aliens, Fireteam Elite.
It's just something is off with the game, and I can't put my finger on it, what it is. It's like it tries to be Destiny and it tries to be Diablo at the same time, and it doesn't get any of it right. And the presentation is just, it's very Aliens Colonial Marines, where it hits the right beats, but it's not immersive like Alien Isolation in that world, and like my favorite film universe. So I don't know what to do with this.
Year one. How did it age? How were the updates? Has this been a success of the franchise? Now, for comparison's sake, I will be using World War Z in a few examples, as it does seem to be one of the better games by comparison. I believe World War Z has built a pretty good definition of arcade horde shooter, so I will be comparing a couple of things between those two games. I'll also be dropping that second video in the next 2 weeks regarding the pathogen giveaway, so please stay tuned in for that as well. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. The likes tell me you enjoy what I'm putting out. The subscriptions help the channel grow, and of course the comments, they allow me to interact with you. So with those disclosures in place, let's go ahead and jump in. So what is it? Well, Aliens Fireteam Elite is going to be best characterized as an arcade horde shooter. So similar to Killing Floor 2, Left 4 Dead, World War Z, just to name a couple. There are mission objectives, but your combat is filtered through in waves of Xenos that require you to thin out before you're able to progress. I'm going to go ahead and open this up.
It looks right, and I like...
Now, there's no denying it. Fireteam Elite provides...
I really like third-person shooters. Like, I pumped so many hours into The Division, it's absolutely crazy. I really like them, and I just feel like this world is so vast, the Aliens franchise. There's so many places for it to go, and I feel like this game is so small. I feel like I was done with everything that needed to be done within the first 3 hours. I'll re-download it and give it another go. If people are even still playing it. That's the thing. Like, I don't want to run around with a bunch of bots. Like, what the hell?
Provides some very, very gripping gameplay.
Give me a second.
From normal difficulty up to extreme, each scale up offers multiple moments.
I never felt that.
You want to fight swarms of Xenos? Well, this is the perfect place to do it.
I never felt like that one time. And maybe I didn't. Maybe it is like Diablo in the fact that like you have to ramp it to max difficulty or whatever to feel, to have your sweaty moments. But I just felt like I was just running through a theme park of generic aliens fare.
Mission 1 opens up in a very, very nostalgic setting. You're pulled into LV-895, an image reminiscent of Hadley's Hope. 3 Marines arrive on site to recon the area, and you get an idea of what's going on. The motion detector's pinging, pipes are hissing, vents are falling from the ceiling. You want to move down the corridors in formation with your teammates, rifles at the ready.
Here's the thing, too. Let me tell you something else about this. And again, I didn't hate this game. I'm gonna give it another try if they're adding more content. If they're adding content and I'm not gonna pay for it, like I'm definitely gonna give it a try. I'm not paying more than, I'm gonna tell you right now. If they add some kind of content thing, I'm not paying more than $5. But I'll re-download this and give it another whirl and just maybe see if like it was a bad time in my life or something. But for like this game not to grip me, who's an Aliens fan, who thought that Alien, when Aliens Colonial Marines was released, I knew it was bad, but I just kind of shrugged my shoulders and went, yep. Yeah, it's an Aliens game. I knew it was going to be bad. Like there has never, because that was before Isolation. And I was like, there hasn't been a good Alien game since like Alien versus Predator back in prehistoric PC time. And I was like, man, what the? I was like, this game's all right, whatever. And I played this and I felt the same way. I was like, yep, I'm gonna. And for somebody who loves the franchise, like I tell you something. Aliens, like even the Prometheus movies, and I'll circle back. The Prometheus movies. People ask me, "Oh, how'd you like it, Robert? How'd you think?" I'm like, I can't even give you a real answer because I'm not a good person to ask because I'm like, there was an alien on screen. I got to see a synthetic. I'm happy. No, Alien versus Predator. That movie was goofy. But how'd you like it, Robert? I got to see a Predator, and it was versus an alien. I'm overjoyed. I'm pooping and peeing myself. It's great. Who is pinging me right now? Who knows? I don't know. Irrelevant. People need to stop bothering me. But my point is, if you're not capturing me, then I don't know who you're capturing. I love the Aliens. It's like one of my cozy movies. It's like The Godfather, Casablanca, Yojimbo, Aliens. Aliens is honestly the best Marine Corps movie ever made. That movie is more realistic, and hear me out. It's space and this bullshit, fucking bugs with mouths inside of mouths trying to get you. The archetypes in that movie of the kindly gunnery sergeant, the stupid lieutenant, the badass female Marine who's got a chip on her shoulder, the noble corporal, the lovable, but you also want to, strangle the shit out of him, short timer. Those archetypes are 100% accurate. And if you were in the Marine Corps for any length of time, I was in for 4 years, you will run into those people. You will run into that archetype. Hardcore. So when I thought Marines were cool. And like I joined the Marine Corps, like in the back of my head, that seed was planted. And I got that full experience like from this movie, from Aliens. And I was like, yeah, I want to be. And this, and I understand they did it on a budget. And you could tell by like the voice acting was cheesy. It seems like instead of having, like, well, how can we have like real NPC characters that you're going to give a damn about? They're like, okay, we watched 30 minutes of the Aliens movie and a bunch of people screaming, we're fucked and oorah and stay frosty. And so they made sure to put all that bullshit in. And it just felt cheesy and it felt dumb. And I just wish maybe if they had more money, they could have made a better film. I don't know. A better game. But again, who's playing this right now? It's just one of those, it feels like, I know like dead game is a hashtag, dead game is a meme, but like who's playing this? It should be me. It should be me playing it.
High speed incoming.
Your first real engagement with the Xenos has you pulling all your firepower forward, only to be met with contact rushing on your 6 o'clock. I was absolutely hooked. The Fireteam Elite is rife with these experiences, and each one is as welcome as the last.
He was hooked.
Though some of the scenarios do seem to be reused in a way,
Yeah.
I found myself unbothered by this. I do.
And this gameplay he's showing is not even with humans. Like, if you notice, they're synthetics. Like, they're bot. Like, go back.
The Fireteam Elite is rife with these experiences, and each one is as welcome as the last. Though some of the scenarios do seem to be reused in a way, I found myself unbothered by this. I do only want to rescue so many scientists before I want to be bum rushed by Xenos again, curing my withdrawal of pulse rifles and smart guns.
I just don't want to call this guy a shill. He's not a shill. That's stupid to say that. But I just feel like, how could you be having this much fun without even human? I could understand getting your boys together and drinking a beer and goofing around in this game. But how could you be having any kind of fun here without that? I don't know. I don't know if this is just his game, that he just likes the game. He just likes it. Some people just like that. They just, they don't care who's playing it. It could be one person playing it, and that's just their game, and they love it. I've never found a game like that, to be honest. I am the most, and I'll say this, I'm the most susceptible to hashtag dead game dead. Because if I feel like, I feel like a loser, I feel like, nobody's playing this game, especially in a multiplayer. If it's a multiplayer focused game, and I'm like the only duder out there, well, what the hell? I could just be playing something else. I don't need to play this like multiplayer thing, because I feel like Elden Ring, for example, games do lose something when they have a purely multiplayer focus. So if you have a game that has a purely multiplayer focus, like this game is, I know you can play it by yourself, but it's not the same game when you do that. When you have a game that has a purely multiplayer focus and people aren't playing the game, I feel like that's how, dead game get dead, and it just goes down the death spiral. Where like a game like Elden Ring, like, okay, 80% of people stop playing it. Of course they did. It's a single player game. But like, that game will never be dead game, because it'll always be like, I feel like playing some Elden Ring. I got 100 hours to kill. Let me do a new build.
Ripping apart those rubber.
When's the last time y'all fired up Left 4 Dead 2? And again, I know that's some people's game. I know that's what they want to play. I just can't do it when I'm like, there's, not that many people on there, or the people on there, they feel like bots already. I just can't do it.
Exoskeletons. I felt as though the game offers some decent replayability as well. As Season 4 opens up here just recently, crossplay has greatly increased the replayability of the game. Slow to come to the game, but definitely needed. Crossplay now makes it easier to jump into any mission you want.
Okay.
And almost always get someone to play.
Okay, let's go. Real-time capture of public matches using crossplay. When was this made? This month? Okay, guess what your boy is doing right now? Alien Fireteam Elite. Okay. I mean, it's not like it's a big deal for me to save that to A drive. It's not like a big deal for me to re-download it, and if it's Garbo, I'll just delete it again.
Play with. Now, due to crossplay, I no longer have the issue of waiting 90 minutes for
I just realized I can't do that while
match.
I'm talking with y'all.
And as a 20-minute gamer, I rarely have time to plug away hours into a game
Just realized I can't download and streaming with y'all at the same time.
one time. So for me, I felt as though the game really held a fair bit of interest over the past few months regardless. And crossplay has definitely increased my chance to enjoy the missions I want to play with people I want to play with.
must be destroyed.
Cheers, Cold Iron.
Stop the spread.
Now, as far as the story goes, Cold Iron has also worked to create a pretty unique but familiar story. Aliens Fireteam Elite allows the player a chance to create a Marine serving aboard the UAS Endeavor. Set in 2202,
It's the weakest part of this game. It's the weakest part of this game right here. I mean, look at this NPC. He's got, again, this is like, it's like somebody who baked a cake or did a recipe and they followed all the directions. So they got all the stuff in the right quantities and the right order, but they just didn't make it with love. And I don't mean that as like a diss to the developers, because I don't know. I don't know them. I don't know them personally. I'm not going to say they didn't make this game with love, but it's like they just hit all the beats, but there's just something is off, and I cannot put my finger on it. I don't know. It's because they were They didn't have enough money to make an NPC's mouth move when they have voice actors. I don't know. Something is off here. 100%.
23 years after the original trilogy, your ship is routed to investigate a distress signal on LV-895. You start out on Katanga Mining Station. After arrival, you begin to notice the presence of xenomorphs. This discovery takes you down a rabbit hole of defective synthetics, waves of xenos, and yes, even a romance betwixt a scientist and a confused xeno female.
The woman who,
What?
the one it came out of. Her name was Monica.
I didn't get this far.
Now, AFE offers the players a great story that's familiar to what captured our attention so many years ago, but one that also does its best to stand aside and bring forward more recent lore.
What great story? What great story is he talking about? Whaling Yutani sends the Marines to kill aliens, but to also capture alien eggs or whatever so they can turn them into a bioweapon. It's the same story over and over and over again. Like, they didn't recreate the wheel here. They didn't add anything to the aliens mythos or lore. What is he talking about? And I mean this with all sincerity. I'm not trying to go in on this. I'm glad that he made this video, because I wouldn't know about the new stuff that supposedly hit this game without a dude. I'm really not going in on him. I could tell he created this with love, but I have questions, and I don't know what he's talking about.
And content. Their team seems to be using subject matter from many aspects of the Aliens universe. From engineers to an alien queen, they seem to want to help in connecting as many dots as they can. And honestly, I hope their process adds to and continues to maintain a place in the Aliens series to come. I want to touch base on leveling up. Aliens Fireteam Elite
I did like this leveling up system. It reminded me, like, visually, obviously it reminds me of Resident Evil, and like trying to get all your trying to jam all your green and red herbs into your one little, item box. And then it also reminded me a lot of the good parts of Path of Exile, which I like. I like the idea of, like, this ability. It's almost like a trading card game, to where, like, this one ability affects this other ability, and then that affects that, and then it's like a cascading effect. I do kind of like, to go on a tangent here, I do kind of like Diablo 3 a little bit better, but I usually say a little bit like this. I say, when I want to think, I will play Path of Exile. When I want to mindlessly kill things and try not to die on my hardcore character, I will play Diablo 3.
Gives users a really fantastic leveling up process. Cold Iron has created what they call a grid that allows you to build a setup how you want using your class-specific traits. And this is a really important part of the game. It seems like so many games created nowadays just have this specific meta that if you want to remotely enjoy the game, you have to adhere to.
There's still a meta. Like, I don't know the meta of this, because I'm not, like, I didn't care enough. But if there's a slot, there will be best in slot. Again, I don't understand what you were saying about there being no meta. There is a meta. If there's a slot, there will be best in slot.
The Aliens Fireteam Elite has a type of meta, but it's not dire. It's not really disastrous if you don't use it. For example, you can have someone run a Demolisher who has his grid pumped up
In fairness, it really is hard to tune a game like this where you want to be a looter shooter and you want to have, like, progressive leveling and stuff like that, where, okay, so if the meta doesn't matter, then your game can be, sleepwalk through. If you want to make going back to Diablo 3, for example, I know it's a third-person shooter and Diablo 3 is an ARPG, but this definitely has ARPG elements. If you want to make every build viable, then that means that you're going to be able just to, like, walk through the game. And that's what Diablo 3 is until you hit the highest tippy top. And again, there is best in slot. But now if you want to make it so you have to think about this kind of stuff and you cannot sleepwalk through the game, well, then you're going to have a hardcore meta that must be adhered to or you're not completing the game, or hitting whatever highest level. These are dungeons. These are dungeons. These are dungeons. These are dungeons. Let's just call them what they are. They're dungeons. You're not going to have. You're just not going to be able to do it. So, with that being said, these are things that are really hard to tune if you're a developer.
Into using his heavy weapon. The dude just wants to use the M56 Smart Gun at maximum capabilities. That's great. You can do that. On the same team, another Demolisher can have his rockets amped up as well for maximum damage. The possibilities aren't endless, but there's positive flexibility in building your grid.
See, and then I understand what he's saying to the point where it's like, especially if you want to do different builds in a multiplayer focus game, then you're gonna start sliding into like the RPG like trilogy of like tank, DPS, healer. And again, if you set up these rigid like restrictions on people, then they're just gonna follow the meta, and that's gonna be boring. But if you let people do whatever they want to do, then there's not really going to be a fail state, and then that's going to be boring too. So how do you balance these things? I don't know. That's for smarter people than me.
Cold Iron has done a great job in creating the grid, and I really wish more games would implement this type of system flexibility. I'd also like to include the weapons leveling up process as well. There are numerous attachments and numerous ways to build each weapon up in a way that you're comfortable with. From increasing stability in a really bucky auto rifle to honing in on accuracy for that sniper rifle. The possibilities were carefully crafted and taken into consideration. My last big positive that I want to touch base on, and it's definitely not the least, I think I'm leaving it because it's the one I'm so amped about, is the audio and the environments. Where do I start here? Do I start with that epic, airy, sexy belch of a pulse rifle?
Short bursts.
But again, okay, so Aliens, Colonial Marines had good sound design. It's almost like these things have already been mastered. I mean, if you want to make a game in the not even Alien universe, but the Aliens universe, you're gonna have the pulse rifle sound. You're gonna have the sound of the grenade launcher, the boop. You're gonna have that doo-doo, that like stinger. You're gonna have a screech. You're gonna have some kind of a dun 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 dun. I mean, not again from somebody who's seen this movie at least 100 times. You're gonna have that like floaty theme of when it's quiet time. That you're gonna have the sound of an egg opening. What else? Maybe the sound of a power loader. So these aren't. You're not reinventing the wheel here. These things have to be there. As far as like, if you're a fan of the Aliens universe, and you're going to make a game about, that's set in the Aliens, Colonial Marine Corps, you just have to have these things, or just don't even do it. Like, just don't at all.
Or the cold, lifeless, damp, fabricated steel of a mining facility.
My man's going in. He's
Cold
going hard.
Iron Studios didn't.
He's like trying to do like a Longfellow. He's trying to really like get his Pulitzer Prize here off this video.
Exceptional job with the audio and environments. They are such an integral and important part of the series. Aliens lore can seem ambiguous at times, convoluted even. But while I have enjoyed many of the movies that have been released, I, of course, have my favorites, mainly Aliens, and Alien 3. The lore has its moments. But I hope there's something that we can all agree on. A pulse rifle needs to sound a certain way. And the environment...
That's what your boy just said.
...should give you the flu, just by looking at it.
Expect so many.
The Cold Iron has captured all
Honeker's
of
PDP
this.
chip. He
The
cut it
pulse
out.
rifle is one of the weapons of my
Why?
youth that I coveted the most. For the first playthrough of the game, the pulse rifle seemed to be all I wanted to use. I was an ultimate badass. The sound, the feel, and it doesn't stop there. The creaks and moans of the facilities, the motion detector beeps, even the aliens squeal as they're shot. I absolutely love every audio aspect of this game. The environment is nothing to scoff at either. Katanga depicts a perfectly deserted facility. Empty. Eerie. Quiet.
Hey,
The
I got
vents
an idea how
dropping
to
from
track down
maintenance
Honecker.
shortfalls,
Searching this whole bar
creaking
to
at
take
odd
too long.
times as well. Katanga pulls you into a jaw-dropping nostalgia of both LV-426 and even the Nostromo. It isn't just the mining facility either. Dropping down to the surface, you're met with flora and fauna similar to the land that time forgot. Old stone structures from the time of the engineers. Massive.
All right, I'll give it up for that. Like, if you want to talk about this game and you want to say something like super positive about it, the engineer stuff, the space jockey stuff that they put in this game caught me by surprise, because I'm like, that's a good melding of, I mean, even though the space jockey, you see the dead space jockey in Alien 2, in Aliens, do you see him in 1? I can't remember in Alien, but the combination of the, because we still haven't got a good look at the space jockey, like how, like their society and how they function, and maybe we shouldn't ever, but the idea of that I thought was really cool, and how you kind of put that all together and tie Prometheus and the mainline Alien universe together is pretty sick. And I like the what I saw from the new trailer or whatever, they have the shoulder mounted cannons like the Predators do. So yeah, they would get some Predator tech. You would think that there would be some Predator tech left over from the, you know, the couple that have come to Earth and died, and Weyland-Yutani would be all over it and make some Predator tech.
Statues. And of course, alien hive structures as well. Cold Iron Studios,
What?
I salute you.
What?
History will long revere your.
Hey, Wreck-It Ralph. Hey, remember that movie? Remember how it was good for the first 15 minutes and then it just had that split and went into some Candyland universe with your girl, Sarah Silverman, just be annoying as shit. And it feels like a completely different movie and it sucked.
Courage and sacrifice.
Now let's jump into some of the cons. Unfortunately, every game has those things that, I don't want to say they weigh on you and you wonder why they haven't been fixed, but that may just be the easiest way of identifying what those things are. Now the first one for me is character creation. Now, I do love it when a game is released and the limitations of character creation make it so I can only create characters that look like friends of mine and not me directly.
I really don't care about this. Character creation in a third-person action shooter is almost as irrelevant as character creation in a first-person game. So I don't care. I understand that, you know, Skyrim and Fallout let you do all this kind of crazy stuff with character creation, but if you're playing it in the way as intended, which is first person, you're never going to see that. So it's nice to give you the option, but at the end of the day, it just doesn't matter.
That way, when my Marine is brutally raped by a prowler, I feel more empowered. Maybe.
This is where you go with this in the Aliens universe. You want to make a character creator matter. You want to make it, oh, here comes the wifey. She's coming in. You got to do. So if you want to make a character creator matter, what you do is you make an Aliens game that is like SOCOM. You make a first, not even turn-based. It can be real-time strategy. And you play the role of like a Lieutenant Gorman. And you are the one telling the Marines to go here, go there, retreat. Don't use don't use live rounds because you might blow a hole in the nuclear reactor, that kind of stuff. And you have to live with your decisions of the Marines that you've named and brought up to boot camp or whatever, like XCOM. And when they die, it's like a big deal. So combine StarCraft with XCOM, and you're the one at like giving the Marines commands. That is the way to go forward here in the Aliens universe for video gaming.
Maybe you should have paid me back for lunch, huh, Danny? Joking aside, the character creation is there. It's just not the best. I do hope that down the road they offer additional palettes for this, physically, that is. The outfits are a little controlled and limited, which is just fine. It's the military. There's going to be limitations. As for AFE, there is a fair selection of headgear to differ you from your teammates, and enough of a change in uniforms as well. Sadly, there's almost a better customization of weapons than uniforms in the game, which seems a little bit backwards to me.
No.
In the future, I'd like to see the ability added to maybe add flare or patches to the uniforms. I think that that would allow us to further identify ourselves differently from the people we're playing with.
Just thank God that's not all
Now,
like DLC
this
paid
next
for
one has a weird
cosmetics.
title, but I'm going to break it down. I'm calling it Axis Strengths Allied Weaknesses. So let's talk about it. There's obviously a reason they use runners as the main Xeno to fight in the game rather than drones or warriors. I 100% get that. However, being such a weaker Xeno, I would imagine they would always be easier to kill. The amount of warriors and drones that Hicks, Hudson, Ripley, and Vasquez hold off in the med lab is astounding, considering how difficult they are in this actual game. Now, there's a balance pass I believe the game still needs for the higher difficulties. There's a level of comfortability in shooters like this that I think Cold Iron is still ironing out. Comparatively, World War Z is still very, very entertaining on the hardest difficulty. Get yourself a crack shot team with great trigger control, and you're headshotting Zeeks, keeping them at bay, really only shitting your pants when a bullet comes on the field. Solo with the AI, you can still enjoy the harder difficulties. Now, I've done insane solo in AFE, so I don't think I'm a crappy player or ineffective, but there's a level of
This is bullshit.
on the higher levels that can make the game just not fun.
But it is what it is. See, he's giving the game away right there. It's like, how do you tune that then? Because the game is multiplayer focused. So you'd have to do what Valve did with Left 4 Dead and make your AI teammates just assassins. They're just aimbots that are just nuking everything around you. Or you make them dumb as shit and then we all complain about that. It's, again, this is why a game like this, when it falls off and dies, it falls off and dies because the game is tuned around 4 human people working together, knowing what the hell they're doing. If that's not happening, the game doesn't work as intended. No matter they add AI bots, no matter how they tune them, it's just not working as intended.
The runner's weak points, I swear, get smaller and tougher. And drones? Forget about it. And synthetics you fight, they're absolute terrors. I'd almost rather fight Xenos. The fact that the way you synths are as horrifying and devastating as...
I absolutely hate, in every Aliens game that's ever been since, oh my god, Alien Trilogy on the PlayStation 1, where you're fighting JPEGs of aliens. They feel like, well, it's really boring to keep killing these, xenomorphs running around, to keep killing these damn aliens. So what are we going to do? We are going to... What else would be... If you're a Space Marine, what else would be an enemy in the Alien universe? Well, it would be... I guess we could do some combat synthetics. And they're just so boring. They're so boring. They're either just super overpowered, and you can't kill them. And it doesn't make any sense because like the synthetics aren't. They would be aimbots, but if you pump lead into them, they're gonna bleed. They're gonna bleed white milk. They're gonna bleed that white blood. So why are they so OP? Even Alien Isolation did this with the Working Joes, which I thought the Working Joes were cool to have. Like, oh, this is why the company that was a competitor to Weyland Yutani fell off, because they made like shitty androids. But they even fell into that same trope of just like, these goddamn things are just they're just annoying and OP, and they just take me out of the game. I'd rather have more aliens, and you're only fighting aliens, than these damn synthetics. Or maybe you do, it's a third-person shooter, right? So you do I just mentioned it, the Division route. Maybe there's another team of Colonial Marines that's being sent to kill you, and they don't know what their real mission is. They just know there's bad guys out there, and that's their mission, is to kill them. So they don't know it's another Marine squad, because your Marine squad knows too much, and they could be like smarter, and they could do like flanking tactics and stuff like that. Maybe you could do that. Maybe that would be sick multiplayer option in this game, if you have two different Marine squads going at each other because they've got conflicting orders. One has orders from Weyland Yutani, the other has from the U.S. Colonial Marines. I don't know, just thoughts.
As they are, but our synths aren't allowed to scale with us, and difficulty is staggering. Now, I understand and appreciate companies trying to be my mom and force me to play outside with other kids. I want to play by myself. It's easy.
Why?
Create a vote button on the launch menu.
Why would you? I'm really, like, I'm not. I promise you, I'm not dissing this guy. Like, I'm very interested in his, but like, why would you want to play a game like this and play by yourself? Like, Aliens Colonial Marines exists. I mean, that's not a great game, but I don't think it's a million times. I don't think it's as bad. How it got made and the lies that it told are the thing that's bad. The actual game is not that bad, especially after the patch. So it's like, why not just play that?
Scale bot difficulty. Yes, no. Boom. Done. All right, this next section I'm calling Content Burnout. And this is the hard topic, which is why I did save it for last. Where are we with content? Year 1 is coming to a close, and that means we've had our 4 seasons. Season 1, we got the Phalanx, the L-33 Pike, the L-59 minigun, the Type 88
No gameplay changes.
AR,
None of that changes gameplay.
and the Voldemort laser, the November 79 EVA laser. Season 2, we got Point Defense, the Zvezda plasma rifle, the Microburst, the PPZ-49 Vol,
Much better. At least you got a new gameplay mode.
which I love, and the Frontier revolver. Season 3 brought us another class, the Lancer.
I'm gonna cook some foods in a bit. You want like, I was gonna put some broccoli in, and there's like fish or chicken or beef in there. All right, sounds good.
We got the X1 Fireball, we got the Heavy Pulse Rifle, the X45 Bombard, and the Mark 7 CQB pistol. Season 4 brought us Crossplay.
Thank you, Jesus!
The Scattergun, the Hell, the SoCal, the Misha, and we got a new gameplay mode, Restock.
You can't be like, oh my god, I don't want to be on the thing, and then be like, well, what's going on? But that's kind of your MO, though, isn't it? Yeah. Like, I don't want anything to do with it, except I want to know everything. You can't. Life doesn't work like that. Nope. It sure absolutely doesn't. Nope. It absolutely doesn't.
Turrets. So that's the dry bit, all right? The devs have clearly taken a vested interest in giving us additional content. They've pushed 12 additional weapons, several attachments which are attainable through Point Defense on Standard and Insane, and in Restock Turrets on Standard and Insane difficulty. 20 plus additional challenge cards, 2 new game modes, plus we also have the Pathogen release coming out as well at the year 1 mark on August 30th. Now, despite community outcry, Cold Iron has stayed true to their word and they have not charged for any seasonal updates, which was their promise. All that DLC has been free. However, Pathogen being its own first standalone portion of the game with additional missions, it's caused a little bit of a upset being that it's paid for DLC.
Okay. How much, though?
All right. Now, with all that out of the way, it is my opinion there is a gap in content and continued interest in the game. I define burnout as the point in time where playing the game no longer captures your attention, not necessarily that you will not play the game, but you're also a little more interested in that.
That was quick. That was quick for me. The boring set in real
Netflix
fast.
Show playing the background while playing AFE. Fireteam Elite for me has had periods of burnout that last for about 2 weeks, and then I'm chomping at the bit to play it a little bit more. There's no real reason that World War Z should be more engaging than Fireteam Elite. They really are quite similar games. However, I've felt as though there is a factor of World War Z that makes it slightly easier to pick up after and during burnout. I think it simply might be the fact that on the higher difficulties, World War Z remains a little easier to control than AFE.
She's our battalion synthetic. Keep
The
moving
horde rushes are the mainstay of each of these games, and for that reason, how each of them handle the rushes are up for critique and analysis. Being able to control a horde in World War Z with headshots and one-shot kills does affect the playability. In Fireteam Elite, not having the ability to...
Also, I just don't understand in this day and age. I mean, I'm sure it has something to do with money and like Disney owning, Fox or whatever, and they probably only just have the Alien license. But like, I don't understand how you go into a multiplayer-focused game like this. You're gonna start making this game. Like, let's say I was gonna. It probably has. There probably is a good answer for this, and it probably has to do with when the first code was written, for this game. Probably is a good answer, but I don't understand why you make an Aliens game that's multiplayer focused at this point, and then you come out with that, and then you slowly just don't start incorporating Predator content as well. So you can like play as the Predators, you play against the Predators, like the whole deal. You might as well just, because if you're gonna do a games as a service thing like this, you have to just do the whole universe.
To control a rush in that way changes the frustration level when playing. It might not be as bad if you could double back in some areas, but this Super Mario Brothers mentality of you've passed this point and can't go back steals away from some of the effectiveness that I feel the Marines would have. There's no way to go back to a hallway, 50 feet even sometimes, to create a choke point on the harder difficulties. Now, we know from the movies and comics that the Marines would think of this and pursue the option to gain fire superiority. When playing with others, I often try to stay in a position where I can keep a door open that otherwise would close and lock on us, allowing the team to create a choke point where we can more easily control the flood of Xenos.
My hope is that they pick up on the fact that
the need for engaging content on titles like this is extremely important. That sounds like a silly statement, but it's not really. When you consider how lazy other developers can be with content based on the game genre or type, it really puts into perspective how important content is for arcade horde shooters. Using a sandbox MMO, Division 2 for example, they have
Division 2
loads of recycled content. It's almost every season is almost the same for Division 2. But it gets tolerated because of the free roam ability and the otherwise randomized and procedural.
But then Division 2 is also like incredibly sick with it. Like, if you've never played the Division, it's the most captivating and also equally boring game at the same time. It's the same like third person looter shooter as this, Diablo with AR-15s. But they have something called the Dark Zone, to where you go in there and PvP is now on, and that's where it's kind of like a Nephilim rift in Diablo, to where you go into the Dark Zone. That's where all like the hardest NPCs are. That's where all the best loot is, and you collect all that loot, and you get it all, and you can't take it out of the dark zone on your own because it's contaminated. So what you have to do is you have to call for evac, a chopper to come in, and it's like 5 real-time minutes it takes for that chopper to come in to evac your stuff so you can actually use it. Now, to call that chopper, you have to send up a flare. Everybody in there, and again, PvP is on. Everybody in the dark zone at that time can see where you're trying to evac from, because there's only like 4 or 5 evac points in every dark zone session. So they can see that. And if they want to, they can, again, that real time, like 5 minutes or whatever, is running. NPCs are coming for you, and then also players, if they want to come and try to take that loot from you and kill you and take it for their own. It's the best experience in gaming. It's the best Ubisoft game ever, and I haven't found any game that has that experience like that ever. It is the only reason to play the Division. Other than that, it's just a boring cookie cutter Ubisoft game. Just talking about this makes me want to fire the Division right now. But I don't really want to do the meta again or find people to play with, and it's like a whole bit. Like, playing by yourself is stone cold boring. You want to find people to run the dark zone, push the dark zone, gank other people, steal their stuff, and evacuate your own stuff.
Generated content that the game creates.
I do still love the M56.
That's
smart
just some
gun.
food for
I
thought,
think
Cold
that
Iron.
It's actually become really underpowered, though.
Now, as I look over the past year, I find myself pretty satisfied with where we are now.
I
think
guess.
it's easy to say or feel like the developers could always do, quote unquote.
I think I'm gonna like put this on YouTube and like try to contact this guy, because I want to know what other games he's playing. If like he's pretty satisfied with this and he hasn't put it down, like what are you playing, dog? Because like I bounced off this pretty hard.
More. Now, I don't know if that's always the case. You know, there's a budget and project schedules for these things. Some of these game modes could be mapped out months or a year in advance, like Pathogen. The devs specifically said Pathogen was in the works the minute that AFE was released to the public. The devs seem pretty active in Discord and online, and they seem very interested in our feedback. This game's gotten a great foundation in many ways, and I feel like it can be built up in a few different directions. We have a ship that's got caution tape and partitions installed. That leads me to believe there's more to see. I can also see some gameplay linked to the CIC that's locked upstairs. There's a deep-rooted fan base for this title and for this universe. There is 100% a lot that can be screwed up here. I think the additional classes they've created work really well.
Seriously, just, you know how you help this game? Let me play as competing, recreate the Dark Zone. What I just ranted about. Make some kind of premise to recreate the Dark Zone, like in Division, and have aliens in there that drop the best loot, and have different Marine teams who are trying to kill each other to get the loot out. Chef's kiss. That would make this game absolutely amazing.
Well,
Just steal from the Division. Whatever. Again, dead game dead.
I like the Phalanx, and I really like the Lancer. At my core, I'm a demolisher or a gunner. Cold Iron has done a great job of taking time to build the game, and while I'd be interested to see a few gameplay functions take hold,
I'm sorry,
this
but
also
if you
isn't
don't
just
like the
my game. It's
you
your
haven't
game.
had moments like that.
Developers need to take
I
into
think
consideration the
intense
needs of the
difficulty is-
majority of players and the type of feedback they get on that mass scale.
I think intense
I'd say
difficulty is
AFE
just
comfortably
great
lands a 7 out of 10.
moments like this.
Now, I don't think the game is exclusively a 20-minute game either. Majority of the missions really take about 40 minutes to finalize.
It's perfect.
Now, inside that 40 minutes, though, there's plenty of great content. There's a few dry or bland moments in the game where there's nothing going on, but
Beautiful.
it picks up pretty quickly. Now, with that being said, though, I still think AFE holds
Eat
a
shit,
role
you
as a
six.
20-minute game. The whole purpose of a 20-minute game isn't that it happens in 20 minutes. It's that in the short time that you're able to play and experience that game, you have sustainable, enjoyable content. As I've said, we do have a few categories. So I think AFE just fits in a 40-minute capacity. So go ahead and take your reward, Cold Iron. I hope you've all enjoyed my year one
Yeah, it was
breakdown
alright. That was a good
of
video.
Aliens,
It's just I
Fireteam
have
Elite.
a lot of disagreements with that video. But you know, I might even message this guy and see what's up. Let me go ahead and sub to him anyway. I might even message this guy and see what's up. And put this little rant on YouTube. I'm gonna make some dinner. So I'm gonna put a YouTube video in front for you guys to enjoy. That's gonna be on for a while. And while I do that, have fun. Let's see here. I'll put my favorite. Ooh, you know what? Put some of my cozy video. This is what I watch like before I go to sleep. I'm super cozy. It's my cozy